Welcome dear students. Today we are going to start the next chapter in business studies, that is organizing. We have learned all the different concepts from the first function of management, planning. The next managerial function is organizing. So we are going to learn in detail what are the different concepts coming under organizing. So organizing is yet another function which is a continuation of the planning. So after planning all the activities to be undertaken in future, the management will organize all the elements. So organizing is a dynamic process. It involves steps like identifying and grouping of the work, the whole work in an organization to be performed by the entire members, and defining and delegating responsibility and authority to the members in the organization. Also establishing a relationship for the purpose of enabling people to work effectively for the achievement of organizational objectives. So we can break the statement into three: identifying and grouping of the whole work in an organization. So first of all, organizing involves identification of the different works to be performed by the workers in an organization. So when we take examples of small scale organization or large scale organization, there will be lot of different works to be performed by each individual workers in an organization. So it will be as per the special skills of the workers. We have to identify the work and group the work under different heads or departments. That is the first task. After that, we have to give a suitable name, that is defining and delegating responsibility and authority. You know very well, authority vested in the top level management, and the responsibility comes from the lower to upper limit. So we have to define what are the responsibilities of each workers and how the authority is flowing from top to bottom. And we have to express in clear terms what is the exact relationship between the top level managers and the lower level workers, and how the relationship is moving from top to bottom. So all these concepts coming under the term organizing. So once again, organizing is the process of identifying and grouping the work to be performed, defining and delegating responsibility and authority, and establishing a relationship for the purpose of enabling people to work most effectively together to accomplish the organizational objectives. So the concepts related to introduction or the meaning of organizing is very clear from this explanation. We are moving to how the different points shows the importance of organizing is essential in an organization. So the importance of organization. So without planning, nothing is happening. And also without organizing all the activities in an organization, there is also nothing happens. So for the efficient management of all activities in an organization, organizing is very essential. So every time organizing builds efficiency in management, which is very much necessary for the performance of all other functions of management. You know very well all other functions like planning, staffing, directing and controlling. So it is very essential for the better performance of all these activities. You know very well, without the combination or the proper coordination of all these activities, the organization is not able to achieve its objectives. So poor organization may result in duplication of work and efforts, and some of important operations may be left out, and it never support the organization to achieve the objectives. So we need not poor organization, the best organization, and all the elements are coordinated with the support of the function organizing. Then only better organization will help for the optimum utilization of all the resources in an organization. So, first point is related to efficiency of management. Efficient management is possible only through proper organizing of all activities and all elements in an organization. I think the idea is very clear for you. Remember the point, efficient management. Next one is enhances abilities. You have to think how organizing enhances abilities and whose ability is enhanced or increased. Here, with proper division of work, people become more specialized and enhance their abilities, which not only improves their skill, but also helps to company to achieve the organizational objectives. For example, in a school, one teacher who is taking class in social science, but her subject is science. Are you thinking it is effective? Or she can bring maximum ability in the organization? You have to think about it. Only teachers having a specialization in social science can take the class in social science, and who is able to take maths class in is efficient in maths can take the maths classes. So you have to think about it. That is another point indicated in organizing. Every time organizing involves an important element. Division of after identifying all the work will be divided to all people in the organization after analyzing their abilities, their specific skills. So automatically that will enhance the abilities of the workers. So organizing is very important for the enhancement of skill of workers. And the next point is coordination and communication. So after identifying all the work, we will divide the work into different specific areas under different departments. And not only dividing the work into different departments, organizing involves its proper coordination through effective communication. So, organization is an important means of bringing coordination among the various departments of the enterprise. It creates clear-cut relationship between the departments and helps in laying down balanced emphasis on various activities. So every time organization helps for the coordination of all the activities of different departments in an organization, and it also improves opportunity for providing the channel of communication for the coordination of activities among different departments, and these synergies which develops helps the company in achieving their objectives. So organizing helps for effective coordination of activities of members and all departments through proper channels of communication. So it is another point that indicates organizing is very important for the achievement of organizational objectives effectively. So we are moving to the next concept of importance of organizing, that is growth and diversification. You know very well the term growth and diversification, how it influences the organization. So sound organization, in an organization, if it is effective, it helps in the growth and expansion of each enterprises by facilitating its efficient management. And sound organization always helps in keeping the various activities under control and increase the capacity of the enterprise to undertake more activities. You know very well, when we are identifying each and every element in an organization and bringing them in a systematic order under each department and creating better relationship among all these departments activities will help very positively for the growth and expansion of the organization. So remember the points. So without organizing, we can move ahead to achieve growth and diversification. So remember, every time effective organization of all activities under control, which will help for the higher level of achievement in the organization. And next one is flexibility to change. You remember the organizing function in an organization always helps for accepting the changing business environment. So, sound organization helps itself to change easily and quickly as per the changing business environment. Flexibility helps the company to remain competitive in the marketplaces. You know very well, we are facing through different natural calamities and health diseases like corona and lot of diseases are happening. You know very well, it affect the business field also, business environment also. So, depending upon these type of changing conditions, also the change in government rules affect sometimes positively or negatively, but only with the support of proper organization, we can adopt all these type of changes in an enterprise. So remember, organizing helps makes flexible, adaptable to the changing business environment by creating and arranging resources in proper manner. And the next one is it helps for the optimum utilization of human resources in an organization. Not only human resources, all the resources in an organization. As we learned earlier, optimum use of all resources is possible when we arrange, when we organize all the materials, maybe human materials or non-material resources in systematic order. So, sound organization matches the job with the individual and vice versa. It ensures that every individual is placed on the job for which he or she is best suited, and this helps in better use of individual working in the enterprise. So, organization process involves fixing the right person for right job through proper recruitments. How it is happening? So only specialized skilled persons are appointed in each area. That is also another important area coming under organizing, which involves and which helps for the effective utilization of human resources. So remember, and the next one is organizing always stimulates, motivates innovation and creativity. You know very well, it is very essential for the survival and growth of the organization to be innovative and creative. So, those organizations having innovative and creative talented employees, they can bring maximum achievement of organizational objectives. So, organization always stimulates these innovative and creative efforts of workers. So, an efficient organization provides reasonable freedom and empowerment to the people and gives sufficient room for decision making. So, this helps people to bring innovative ideas and creative ideas in the workplace. So, these are the points that indicates the importance of organizing in an organization. So, without all these points explains in detail, without organization, we can move ahead for the better and efficient achievement of organizational objectives. Hope all the ideas are very clear for you. Any doubts, you just please watch this video again and you can develop your own concepts by reading the textbook contents and also by searching different web pages related to same concept. So we will meet in the next video, that is steps in organizing, very important topic for the board exams also. Dear students, we are moving to the next topic in organizing, that is steps in organization. So it's very easy to learn all these concepts. We are moving to very important area, as I told. It is very important from the point of view of the board exam also. So be very careful to watch and hear the explanation to make the concepts very easily. So we are moving to the first steps in organization, that is identification and division of work. Identification and division of work. So identification and division of work. It's very simple process by the different head of an organization. Before dividing the work, they will identify what are the different work involved in each department. Involved in each department. So we will start from the top to the lower and analyze in detail. The total work to be done should be divided into specific jobs. So after identifying each and every task, it will be divided. You know very well the principle division of work. So division of work helps to bring specific talents by the workers to achieve the organizational objectives effectively. So after identifying the work, it will be divided into specific jobs as according to the predetermined plans. Then management must ensure that all the activities required to achieve organizational objectives are identified and divided into each individual workers as per their specific skills. So the management, what is the job of management? They have to ensure all the activities in an organization is identified, and the activities which are essential for the achievement of organizational objectives are identified, and it is divided into each worker, assigned to each worker after analyzing the skill of each worker. So the first step in organizing is identification and division of work. Simple, you just think about you. When you start an organization, how you will divide the whole work? Definitely, you will divide the work after identifying how many workers are there, how much work is involved. After identifying the skill of each worker, you will assign. So, if you want to appoint a person to operate computer tasks, you will find who is best person will work very quickly and with maximum speed to perform the computer task. So that is identification and division of work. And next step is departmentalization. What is departmentalization? You know very well the term department, which involves certain sub jobs. So after identifying each work, we will divide and bring the work according to its similarity into each section or division, or it is known as department. So you know very well different departments will be there in an organization, like the production department, purchasing department, sales department, financial department, marketing department, human resource department. So, depending upon the similarity and related jobs, it will divided and arranged into larger units, and that units called departments or divisions or sections, and the process is known as departmentalization. What is the use of this process? It facilitates specialization. So in each department there will be one head who will control the entire workers in an organization and who is able to tackle the problems related to activities coming under that particular department, and the departments are linked together and independent. They are linked together, but they are interdependent. Okay, so remember, all the works will be divided and categorized into different departments is known as departmentalization, the second process in organizing. And the next one is, after dividing the workers into different categories or departments, the head of the organization will assign duties. Duties means tasks. So define the work of different job positions and allocate work accordingly to each worker. Then once departments are formed, the department is placed under the charge of an individual like the marketing manager, HR manager, finance manager, etc. Then jobs are assigned to an individual best suited to perform it. So, as I said, one person who is able to operate the machines will get the task. If he is not able, will get another task best he can or she can perform. So, when the duties are assigned, we have to look at the qualification of the workers, experience of the workers, ability and the aptitude of the people, and we have to match the quality of each worker with their duties. So, assignment of duty is very essential to perform. When we assign the duties, we have to look at the factors like qualification, experience, ability, and aptitude of people. So, you know very well, when we have interest to perform such a duty, we will give maximum, our 100% effort to bring better result. And the last process in organizing is establishing reporting relationships. Establishing a reporting relationship. So, without proper relationship between the superior and subordinates, nothing is going to happen. So, after assigning the duties, there should be a rule or policy that who is obedient to whom. So, granting request authority to enable employees to perform the job satisfactorily. Also, superior subordinate relation between different people and job position should be created. So, it will enable everybody to know from whom he or she is to take the orders and to whom he or she is issued orders and responsible. So also they have to make a management hierarchy, means a chain of command from the top manager to the individual at the lowest level. So there will be better working in the organization through all these efforts. So remember, establishing a reporting relationship means creating a better relationship to work together from superior to subordinate, from top to bottom in a proper hierarchical order. So these are the 4 important steps involved in organizing process. Hope all the processes are very clear. If there is any doubts, you please comment in my comment box. I will give detailed explanation regarding all the points. Thank you for watching this section. We will meet with next section from the chapter organizing. Yet another topic from the chapter organizing. I hope you have cleared all the doubts regarding the first topics from the chapter organizing, that is the concept of organizing, its importance and the different steps involved in organizing. So we are moving to the next topic, that is organizational structure. So what is organizational structure? You have to know it very clearly. The organizational structure gives a basis or framework for the managers and other employees for performing their functions very actively and clearly. So what is organizational structure? It shows the hierarchical arrangement of all the elements in an organization, from the top to bottom the workers, and also the systematic arrangement of all departments in an organization. You know very well the step departmentalization. So it involves categorizing and the structural arrangement of all the elements. So the organizational structure in an organization, it may be different depending upon the size of the organization. Maybe small scale organization, sometimes there will be a little possibility for organizational structure. Why? Because only limited number of workers will be there. And in large size organization, there will be huge number of employees working in the organization under different heads. So it is necessary to bring a structural arrangement of all the workers, and it is very easy for carrying out all the functions by the manager and the employer. So just remember, the organizational structure can be defined as the framework within which managerial and operating tasks are performed. So remember the different concepts related to organizational structure. So how it is related to span of management? Span of management, you know very well, it refers to the number of subordinates that can be effectively managed by a superior. For example, in an organization, how the purchase manager can manage the employees coming under his custody. So span of management is directly related to organizational structure. So the span of management to a large extent gives a shape to the organization structure. Span of management means on head may be a manager. For example, the sales manager have lot of subordinates like sales representatives who controls the sale of products in an organization. So this determines the level of management in the structure. So every time the span of management means it's a structural arrangement of number of subordinates under one great superior or leader. So it shows it has a direct relationship between span of management and organizational structure. Every time span of management helps for keeping a good organizational structure in the organization. So we have to remember the two types of organizational structures. First one is functional structure and the second one is divisional structure. So related to organizational structure, there is two classification. One is functional structure and second one is divisional structure. So as the name indicates, if the structural arrangement is based on the functions or activities performed by the employees, then it is known as functional structure. I think it is very clear from this picture. There will be one head, under him or her there will be lot of head of the organizations. So there will be one head and different employees, subordinates working under him. So just read this one. A functional structure activities are grouped and departments are created on the basis of specific functions to be performed. So the functional structure arrangement is based on the functions performed by the workers or subordinates or the members of an organization. So here is an example. For example, all the jobs related to production are grouped under production department or sales department or HR department, etc. So the division of workers only on the basis of functions like production, sales or marketing, then purchase department, then finance department, then for bringing suitable employees, human resource department. So these are the different functions, core functions in an organization. If it is based on that type of function, that is known as functional structure. So we have to think about what is the suitability of this functional structure in an organization. So the suitability of a functional structure explains the functional structure is most suitable for large organizations producing one line of product, only single product. So functional structure is most suitable and best suitable only for the organization which is concentrated in the production of single line of product. Single line means only one type of product. So this type of functional structure will bring specialization. Specification means they have to concentrate only in production of this type of single product, and organizations which require high degree of functional specification or specialization with diversified activities can prefer functional structure. So there will be no possibility of confusion. They can concentrate only in production of a single product. So remember, the functional structure is most suitable only for the large organizations. They are concentrating only in one line of product. So we have to think about the advantages of functional structure. So the first one is related to it helps for bringing specialization. So every time better decision of labor takes place, which result in specialization of functions and its consequent benefits. Every time specialization means bringing specialization, concentration in only one product helps for bringing maximum 100% of achievement in the organization. So functional structure helps for specialization, and also coordination is established through functional structure. How it is established? All the persons working within a department are specialists of their own particular jobs, and it makes the coordination easier at the same departmental level. So we are classifying the workers based on their special skills and bringing them in each department based on the functions. So the workers who are able to operate the machines can bring in the production department, and who is able to increase the sale of product can bring in the sales department, who is able to control effective manner the funds coming into organization. We can appoint that type of workers in finance department. So it brings coordination in the organization, coordination of all the activities in the organization. So remember, functional structure brings specialization and coordination of all the activities in the organization. And also it helps in increasing managerial efficiency. Every time the functional structural arrangement helps the either automatically reduces the workload of managers at the top level. So managers of one departments are performing same type of functions again and again, which make them specialized and improves their efficiency in the particular area where they are operating. For example, who is working in the HR, human resource department, is able to identify the most suitable worker, most skilled worker and dedicated worker in the organization. So this is the another advantage of functional structure, that is helps in increasing managerial efficiency. And as I said, it helps for minimizing the cost in the organization. How it leads to minimum duplication of effort. Minimum duplication of effort means only one department, and in that particular department only few workers will do the same work. So the work is divided. Division of work is there in functional structure, and only little possibility of duplication of activities doing same job by other workers, maybe in one department or any other department. It will be reduced through functional structure. So remember, these are the advantages of functional structure. And the next one is disadvantage of functional structure. So advantages of functional structure shows it is most suitable for single line products. Companies producing single line products, and it has some disadvantages also. So ignorance of organizational objective is the first disadvantage of functional structure. How functional structure ignores organizational objective. So each departmental head work according to his own wishes. Sometimes there will be personal bias also, influence of personal bias also. So they always give more weight to their own department and its objectives. The overall organizational objectives will come subsidiary before the objective of a particular departmental head. So they will give, the departmental heads will give more importance for better performance of their own department by forgiving the achievement of organization. So they will ignore the organizational objectives and give how it is happens. They give you the managers of each department. Production manager will give more importance for bringing quality product, but he will never think about how to increase the profit through better sales. So it is one of the disadvantage of functional structure. And the next one is difficulty in interdepartmental coordination. As we said, there will be a tight competition between the departmental heads. So sometimes it is not possible to bring better coordination in between all these departmental heads. So you know very well, every time fund and monetary benefits are bringing more competition between different workers in the organization. That is also happening in functional structure also. All departmental heads work as per their own wishes. So they will never consider for the objectives or wishes of other departmental heads, which leads to coordination within the department easier, but it makes interdepartmental coordination difficult. So remember, functional structure. In functional structure, they face a difficulty in interdepartmental coordination. Means the coordination between two different or three different departments. And the last point that indicates disadvantage of functional structure is there is hurdle in complete development of the organization. There is a hurdle. There will be some distractions because each employee specializes only in a small part of the whole job. All are not able to, employees are not able to operate other activities, other functions, other areas in the organization. They will concentrate only in the particular job. Sometimes it will be a small part of the whole job. So there will be some financial burden also for the whole organization. So these are the different disadvantages of functional structure in the organization. So all the points related to functional structure is very clear. Remember, it is one of the classification of organizational structure, and in this only large size organizations, sometimes medium size organizations are also following, but large size organizations, they are running or concentrating in single line of product is implicable. There only we can implicable or implement this type of organizational structure. Next, we are moving to the second type of organizational structure, that is divisional organizational structure. Divisional organization structure. So, what is divisional organization structure? So, in functional structure, the structural arrangement is based on functions, only based on functions performed by each department. But in divisional organization structure, the structural arrangement is based on the product, the different lines of products, categories of products produced by the organization. So the whole organization, whole business organization is divided or arranged into different departments or structured based on the different types of products produced by the organization. Just go through this picture. On managing director is there, and under there are different products. But in functional structure, on managing director, under production manager, then marketing manager, HR manager, finance manager, like the same. But here in divisional structure, divisional organization structure, the arrangement is based on the different products. Just look at this. One cosmetic product is there, medicine is there, garments, footwear. All these type of products are produced by a single business concern, and for each product there is production manager, purchase manager, marketing manager, finance manager. And in medicine also production manager, purchase manager, marketing manager, finance manager. Like the same for garments also production manager, purchase manager, marketing manager, finance manager. Under all these managers there will be lot of subordinates. So these type of structural arrangement based on the type of products produced is known as divisional organizational structure. So dividing the whole enterprise according to the major products to be manufactured is known as divisional organization structure. Hope the meaning is very clear. Remember, find out the difference between functional organization structure and divisional organization structure. So in functional organization structure, the products are not given importance, only that structural arrangement is based on the functions. But in divisional organization structure, the arrangement is based on the different types of products produced. Then we have to look at where these type of organizational structure is most suitable. I think you remember the functional structure is most suitable in organization where only one product is produced. But divisional organizational structure is most suitable where the organization is producing multiple product, where the organization is producing multiple product or different lines of products requiring product specialization. And also growing companies which intended to add more lines of products by opening different branches of different products in future, they can also adopt divisional organizational structure. So remember, the companies, organizations which are dealing in production or manufacturing of multiple products, or a growing company which goal is to bring different lines of products in future also, they can also adopt which type of organizational structure? This divisional organizational structure. So remember, in functional organizational structure, they are given only single product. They are concentrating only in the production of single product. But in divisional organizational structure, they are giving importance for multiple products, production of different lines of products. So it has some advantages. Just look at the different advantages of divisional organization structure. So here quick decision making is possible. You know very well, each product have production manager, purchase manager, marketing manager and finance manager. So it helps for quick decision making. So divisional manager can take any decision regarding his division independently, which makes decision quick and effective. No need to consult with any others. The decision can be made very quickly. So remember the advantage of divisional structure organization or divisional organization structure, that is quick decision making is possible. And the next one is divisional results can be assessed. Divisional assess can be assessed. So we can easily identify as the same example. So a company producing cosmetics or medicinal items or any other items, we can find out the profit or loss of each product. So division result, whether the division means that particular product division is earning profit or loss in a particular period, can be assessed very easily within short time. So on this basis, any unprofitable division can be closed. So suppose one section, one product section is not giving any profit, we can close down the organization, that product, that business. So divisional result can be assessed very easily in divisional organizational structure. And the next advantage is the growth and expansion of the organization is possible. So every time the divisional organizational structure facilitate growth and expansion of the business by bringing new product, new division of product, by adding without disturbing the existing departments, they can bring more new products in the market. It helps for the growth and expansion of the organization. So remember, there is some disadvantages are there for divisional organizational structure. So the first one is related to the conflict among different divisions on allocation of resources. Sometimes the company will collect raw materials for different products. Some similar raw materials will be there, and the allocation of resources, machineries, men, there will be some conflicts. For example, workers are using machines in different sections, and there will be some friends, and they will create some demands. I would like to work in that particular product only with my friend. So there will be some conflicts. And in the allocation of funds also, there will be some conflict between the different departments based on the product. So that is the one disadvantage of divisional organizational structure. And the next one is duplicity of functions. So the entire set of function is required for all divisions. It gives rise to duplicity of efforts among division and increases cost. So same type of activities are undertaken by workers in different product production areas. They will cost more salary for all these type of workers. Sometimes the raw materials purchased in one department can be used for another department also. Sometimes it will be wasted. So these type of activity can be reduced to earn more profit, but the disadvantage is it increases cost. Duplication of functions or functions performed by same functions performed by workers in different divisions will increase the cost. And the last point of disadvantage is selfish attitude of the workers. So one organization under, for example, 5 products, and 5 products under each division, there will be lot of workers. So in order to bring better performance in each division, there will be workers are showing tough competition of competition, and this will lead to selfish attitudes of the workers. So every division tries to display better performance and sometimes even at the cost of other division. This shows their selfish attitude, and there will be a lot of conflicts due to this selfish attitude, and the management will face a lot of problems related to this attitude of workers. So these are the some limitations of divisional structure. So the organizational structure shows the structural arrangement of workers or all the elements in the organization. It is classified into two categories: functional structure and divisional organization structure. So these are related to the concept organizational structure. Hope all the areas are very clear. Please take all the notes from this video. For developing more concepts, please watch the video again and again. Don't forget to share this video to your friends. So thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, dear students. Today, through this video lesson, you are going to learn the last different topics in the chapter delegation of authority. So delegation of authority. What is delegation? You have to know the meaning of the term delegation. Delegation means transfer, and you know very well what is the concept of authority. Authority always vested in the top level of management. So remember, delegation of authority means transfer of authority, sharing or granting of authority to subordinates. So just read the explanation. It means the granting of authority to subordinates to operate within the prescribed limits. Granting means sharing of authority from the manager to his or her subordinate. And the manager who delegates the authority hold his or her subordinate responsible for proper performance of the assigned task. So, why we are transferring the authority? Why we are granting the authority to subordinates? To make them responsible. They are also can perform whatever may be the task performed by the manager. So, on behalf of the manager, the subordinates can be responsible to perform all the activities in the organization and to make sure that his subordinates perform all the work effectively and efficiently in expected manner. The manager creates accountability. So remember the concept delegation of authority. It means granting of authority to subordinates. So why it is important? It is important due to three elements. It is important due to three elements. One is authority. Know very well what is the meaning of the term authority. The power of taking decisions in order to guide the activities of others. Authority is the power to take decision. You know very well, every time top level management will take the decision. So it is the power of the management. And why they are taking decision? To guide his followers, subordinates. Authority is that power which influences the conduct of others. So every time who have authority, you know very well the capability of political leaders, how they are influencing the others. They have power. So one element of delegation is authority. Second one is responsibility. It is the obligation of a subordinate. So responsibility comes from subordinates, authority from the top. So responsibility is the obligation of a subordinate to properly perform the assigned duty. So when an employee completes the task on time and the task given by the manager, then he or she is responsible. When a superior issues orders, it becomes the responsibility of the subordinate to carry it out or to be bring successful. So responsibility is the obligation. Use the word obligation of a subordinate. And the last one is accountability. You know the meaning of the term accountability. When a superior assigns some work to a subordinate and he or she is answerable, accountable, responsible to his or her superior for its success or failure. So that relationship is accountability and the relationship between the superior and subordinates. So remember, these are all the key concepts, key elements in delegation. In the process of delegation, one person have authority, other one have responsibility, and the relationship between these two is accountability. Hope this idea, this topic is very clear. Moving to the next one, why delegation of authority is important in our business? How much it is important? So let us look at the first point. It helps in the reduction of executive's workload. It helps in the reduction. Wherever the authority is delegated, granted to subordinates, it helps for the reduction of workload of executives in the organization. So it always reduces the workload of officers, the officials. They can thus utilize their time in more important and creative works. So when the authority is transferred to subordinates, the authority having people, officers, can do more innovative ideas. They can bring more innovative ideas. They have no need to stick on their routine activities, day-to-day activities. They can concentrate on creative ideas, innovative ideas to bring successful business. And the next one point that shows the importance of delegation of authority is employee development. As I said earlier, when the manager gives his power to his subordinates, assistant manager or any other officials, that employee is also getting opportunity to perform all the activities, all the duties of a manager. So automatically it helps the employee to develop his or her skills. So remember, employees get more opportunity to utilize their talent, which allows them to develop those skills which will enable them to perform complex tasks. So the second point of importance of delegation of authority is employee development. And the third point explains about quick and better decisions are possible. Quick and better decisions are possible. So through delegation of authority, how it happens? The subordinate are granted sufficient authority, so they need not to go to their superiors for taking decisions. So the time for taking decision after the discussion of superiors is not needed in delegation of authority. So they not need to go with the superior to take important decision. The subordinate can take his or her own decision. So that is why it helps in the quick and better decision through delegation. And the next point is high morale of subordinates. You know very well, when we are getting authority, our initiative and morale, that side always automatically increases. So whenever we are getting the power, we are showing the maximum, isn't it? So through delegation of authority, the subordinates are showing high morale towards the organization or towards the superiors. So because of delegation of authority to the subordinates, they get an opportunity to display their efficiency and capacity. So just go through an example. Suppose I'm taking an example of a school. Suppose there is only one principal in the school. In the absence of the principal, no authority is there to take the charge. The activities on that particular day will not perform efficiently. But if the principal is giving charge to another party, maybe a vice principal or a senior teacher in the organization, or any other people, any other efficient teachers in the organization, that is an opportunity for that teacher to bring or to display his or her efficiency, creativity, and talents in the organization. So automatically, it will bring high morale of the families. Next one is, and the last point of importance of the delegation of authority is better coordination of all elements in an organization, all materials, all workers' performance, their duties. It is possible through delegation of authority. As I said earlier, always delegation of authority increases the morale of the employees. So the element of delegation involves authority, responsibility, and accountability. It helps to define the powers, duties, and answer ability related to various job positions, which result in developing and maintaining effective coordination. So, who is responsible to whom, and who have to respond to the questions of higher officials, who is answerable to whom. So, all these things are clearly explained through delegation of authority. This helps in bringing better coordination in the organization. So, dear students, please remember all these points. Only five points are there that show the delegation of authority. We are moving to the last topic of this chapter: organization, centralization, and decentralization. First of all, we have to learn about decentralization. Then it will be very clear to learn the concept centralization. So, what is decentralization? What is the meaning of the term decentralization? Actually, it is the continuation of delegation of authority when the authority dispersed given to different levels, lower levels, that is known as decentralization. Sharing of authority or granting of authority from top to bottom and spreading over the lower level, that is known as decentralization. And what is centralization? We will learn in detail, but centralization is the concentration of authority at the top level only. Concentration means only the top level officials have the right to control anyone. But decentralization explains the authority of lower level officials also. So just listen carefully. Decentralization of authority means dispersal of authority to take decisions throughout the organization up to the lower level. So when the authority is shared to from top to middle level and lower level officials, members, then it is known as decentralization of authority. It implies observation of some authority with the top level management and transferring the rest of the authority to the lower level of the organization. So the important authority, decision making authority at the very critical situation and major planning activities are undertaken by the top level, but rest of the activities are done, decisions are taken by the lower level workers or members or officials of the organization. And this empowers lower levels to take decisions regarding problems faced by them without having to go to the upper levels. So, whenever there is a problem at the lower level, they can take their own decision very quickly without the support of the upper level. So, this is the concept, very important topic. You can expect a short answer question from this area: decentralization. Next, why it is important? Why we are sharing the authority to the lower level. So importance of decentralization involves first one, it develops initiative among the subordinates. So always when the authority is shared to the subordinates, they will show another quality initiative. They will take all the steps, all the activities, all the decision without the support of any other experts or higher officials. So remember the point, develops initiative among the subordinates. And second on point, it helps. Decentralization of authority helps quick and better decisions. Already we have discussed in delegation of authority. So decentralization of authority. When the authority comes up to the lower level, the officials of the lower level can take decisions very quickly without discussing with the upper level employees or higher officials or people in the middle level and top level. So quick and better decision, better initiative among the subordinates, and it relieves the top executives from excess workload. So decentralization of authority, that means the top level will take only important and planning related decisions. All other activities are released to, shared to, granted to the lower level and middle level workers. So automatically it will reduce the workload of top level executives. Suppose when we are planning on program, if I am taking all the charges of different sections, the workload is increasing. When I am sharing the activities separately to different groups, automatically the workload will reduce. So here in organization also, decentralization of authority, it helps the top level executives to reduce their workload. Also, next point explains about through decentralization, better control is possible. So, better control of all the activities of each and every individual or sections in the organization. So, through decentralization, it is possible to evaluate the performance at each level, the performance of employees or any other element. We can evaluate at each level. Why we are evaluating? If better control is needed, we can control all the activities. So decentralization helps in better control of the workers. And the last point that shows the importance of decentralization is managerial development is possible. What is managerial development? How it is possible? It means giving authority to the subordinates up to the lower level to take decisions regarding their work. So, in this way, the opportunity to take decisions helps the development of the organization also. We have to think workers having creative talents are not vested in the top level. Sometimes there will be workers having creative talents and innovative ideas from middle level and lower level also. So when the organization head or the owner gives opportunity to the lower level workers also, we can improve the managerial talents or the management of the whole organization. So these are the points that indicates decentralization's importance. So the last topic from the chapter, organizing is, last concept is centralization. It is just opposite to decentralization. Just read the paragraph. As I said, centralization refers to the process in which activities involving planning and decision making within an organization are concentrated to a specific leader or location. Once again, centralization refers to the process in which activities involving planning and decision making within an organization are concentrated to a specific leader, maybe a single individual or location. When the authority to take decisions and to plan the whole activities in the organization is vested in the hands of a single individual, maybe the managing director or the owner of the organization or to a selected member, a board, then it is known as centralization. And what are the benefits? In a centralized organization, the decision making powers are retained in the head office, not transferred to the lower levels. All other officers receives commands from the main office. So in centralization, all other officers or subordinates receives commands, instructions from the head office or main office. Refers to the it refers to the hierarchical level within an organization that has authority to take or make decisions. So centralization refers to the hierarchical level, the transfer of authority within an organization that has authority to make decision. So concentration of authority at the top level. When decision making is kept at the top level, the organization is centralized. So we can say when the decision making power is kept or vested in the hands of the top level, then we can say the organization is centralized level. So please keep in mind what is the idea regarding the different concepts in organizing. Please recall all the concepts what we have learned in this chapter. Watch all the videos again and again. Don't forget to share this video with your commerce learning students as friends. So, thank you for watching all these videos. Once again, I would like to say it is only a summary of all the concepts you can develop. You can develop all the concepts in this chapter by reading the textbook, also by reading the web pages, watching another videos. Also, you have to differentiate each concept like delegation of authority and decentralization. What is the difference between centralization and decentralization? Then only the self-learning concept is possible. So remember, don't forget to miss all other videos. Keep watching all the videos of my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share the videos. Don't forget to learn in thorough manner by listening all my words carefully. So thank you for the patience. We will meet with the next lesson from business studies. Thanks so much.